This week on Supercars Talk, Shane's off to live the American dream, Betty's boys go on another tear, and I actually get some predictions correct. The big news this week, which is actually big news for a change, is that Shane Van Gisbergen has been confirmed to be starting a NASCAR race this year with the Trackhouse team in their Project 91 car, whatever that means. I am not a big NASCAR fan, but I will be tuning into this one. Sunday, July the 2nd is when it happens. It will be NASCAR's first race on an actual street circuit. Not they do kind of go and do a couple of road courses a year, but this will be on a street course. Shane Van Gisbergen is the correct person to get into that, I reckon. Could you get someone better? At the moment, it is only a one-race deal. Will it lead to more things in the future? I, for one, can't see him moving over there full-time, even if this is a very successful jaunt. I just think he will want to stay in this area of the world as a permanent base and go over and do these things for fun. But let me know what you think about it. You know, if he does well, will he be gone from us in the future? He's made a lot of complaints about Gen 3, but he isn't winning everything either. So I think the challenge is kind of back there for him in this racing. And then if he can go off and do his rallies and NASCAR, things like that, I think that will keep him very happy and planted kind of in Australia and with Triple Eight for the future. In other news this week, which is a little bit smaller than the big Shane Van Gisbergen announcement, Matt Stone Racing has confirmed that Jaden Ojeda will be returning with them for third Enduro campaign. Actually, an Enduro campaign this time. This time he will be partnering Jack LeBrock though, so that is 3 campaigns with Matt Stone Racing and 3 different co-drivers with them. That's got to be some kind of record, I reckon, for a co-driver to actually be staying with the same team but having different main drivers each time. But I think that's a pretty good pickup from them. Jaden did a pretty good job last year. Not doing much this year, but yeah, he's got a bit of experience now. Seems to have got away that kind of crash tag that he had earlier on in his career. Now, I don't want to talk about any parity, so the big talking point I've got from the racing over the weekend wasn't actually during the racing, it was during qualifying, and it's Cam Waters and his magnetism to kind of the back of the DJR cars in qualifying. Why not give yourself enough of gap? Like, I loved his comment, if they're that slow, I really feel sorry for the drivers. But yeah, my God, was he closing in on those 2 cars? Why? I can understand you want to get the tow, etc. You know the DJR cars aren't on your pace. Why be that close to them at the start of the lap? Once again, we had problems in qualifying there with them all, you know, backing off and trying to get a lap in. We nearly saw a big accident with Courtney. I'm trying to think, was it Reynolds that he was trying to go around, or Reynolds wasn't essentially doing the right thing, and yeah, Courtney went spearing off and nearly had a massive accident, which would have been about Courtney's 54th for this year. But yeah, once again, you know, troubles in qualifying, and that 3-part thing on Saturday felt like that was about an hour and a half session for 35 minutes worth of racing. Yeah, can we make it a bit more punchy somehow, please? It was back to, you know, kind of good sessions, I felt, on Sunday. We want the track action on the Saturday, wanting to make people worthwhile for them to go to the circuit and that, having the cars on track. Do we look at introducing like a 4th race on a sprint weekend, something like that, rather than this really long, convoluted qualifying session? We have 4 races at Grand Prix. Could we do 4 races at Symmons if we want to stick to these sprint weekends and have more track action on the Saturday to make it worthwhile for the spectators going there? I feel we can do that better. Now, my rundown of the racing over the weekend. I'll try and keep this short and sharp so the video isn't too long for everyone. Kicking it off, Blanchard's 13th in the championship. Todd Hazelwood currently 17th in the championship. If it wasn't for the fact that they tried to release him from the pits without the wheel nut being done up properly, would we have seen this car on the telecast all weekend? Yeah, just a weekend to forget for those guys, unfortunately. Matt Stone Racing. It's hard to believe these guys are still this far down in the championship. They are ahead of the B teams, but I'm grouping them together for simplicity's sake with this rundown. What a weekend from these guys. I predicted LeBrock to have a standout weekend, but my God, Cameron Hill as well. He didn't look like a rookie all weekend. He looked like he belonged up there. There was that bizarro moment at the beginning of race 2, I think it was, on the first race on Sunday, where you've got the 2 Erebus cars and then the 2 MSR cars cruising along behind. And it looked like they were supposed to be there. They just looked very confident up the front all weekend. They had the good qualifying on Saturday and just kind of continued it over the whole weekend. It wasn't a usual, like, flash in the pan, good result from MSR. Jack LeBrock's kind of cemented himself in the top 10 of the championship. But their results over the weekend. Qualifying. Jack, 2nd, 4th and 4th. 7th, 5th and 7th for Cam Hill. It's just outstanding. The worst qualifying between the two of them was a 7th over the weekend. Finishes, they did go a little bit backwards in the races. They seem to, not the best strategy, use their tyres a bit. Jack got himself involved in that incident on the Saturday as well, which hurt his race. Did he need... If he didn't fight Cam, we would all be turning around and calling him weak. And just letting Cam go. But did he really need to try and battle Cam? And then ultimately Brody got involved in that, which took him out. It's one of those LeBrockisms. He seems to get needlessly involved in some of these incidents. You could just, when he was hanging on the outside of that, I just holding my breath, waiting for something to go wrong, and it did. But anyway, their race finishes 7th, 8th and 8th for Jack, 11th, 5th and 11th. So for Cam Hill there. It just outstanding weekend from those guys. I just, for their sake, I just hope that they can continue. This isn't just one flash in the pan, which Jack's actually been showing really good pace overall so far this year. As I said, he's 10th in the championship currently. But yeah, I just really hope that they can kind of keep this pace going into Darwin and beyond. And yeah, just take that next level up in the championship. Team 18, not much to say about these guys. Surprisingly, Pye was 5th in the first race. I don't really recall seeing the car on TV. Frosty's best result was 8th in the final. Other than that, they were kind of nowhere. Just a really anonymous weekend for them. And kind of speaking of anonymous weekends, Premier Racing, they were very up and down over the weekend, just flashes of speed at times and then kind of dropping right off. I'll put here, the only thing consistent is their inconsistency. Dick Johnson Racing and their fall from grace. I think we can kind of sum up their weekend with qualifying on Saturday. Anton had clutch problems and was essentially last. Davison, I think he was actually fastest in Q1, and then I think it was 16th in Q2. And they asked him afterwards, and he just had no answer. They said, did you change anything? No, didn't change the car, did the same thing. And we went from, essentially fastest to the back, and we don't know why. The qualifying speed just isn't there. They are racing towards the front, so if they could qualify better, they could probably race with probably not quite, your Erebus 888 pace, but they could race with those guys behind. But yeah, I suppose it was highlighted in qualifying when Cam Waters was firing into the back of them at the end of the straight. There was just a kind of chasm there in qualifying. Talk about parity in that, but you've essentially got what should be the top Ford team that are just nowhere at the moment. And yeah, I'm hoping they find some qualifying form and can dig themselves out of this hole, because the championship is better when Dick Johnson Racing is up the front. I suppose they're a little bit like Ferrari, but yeah, at the moment it's a bit like one of those train wrecks. You should look away, but you can't. I'm running out of things to say other than just another disappointing weekend from them, really. Grove Racing. All the kind of things I've just said about DJR and that. Where were they all weekend? I mean, at least DJR was kind of fighting forward in the races. Groves dropped from 3rd to 6th in the championship. Yeah, just nothing really of note. Payne had 2 15th finishes, and Reynolds' highlight was a 12th. These guys should be fighting for wins. Brad Jones Racing. Jaime was 2nd on Saturday. Then, I don't know, did they put in the setup from the other 3 cars into his car and he just went... Forward was the best looking car on Sunday out of the team, really. These guys should be banging around in the top 10 somewhere. You expecting Jaime to take, those podiums, the other 2 cars, we kind of expect them to be right at the back. But yeah, I'm not sure. Hopefully this is just a once-off for them, because they were seeing, Jaime's been having a pretty good year. Forward seemed to be progressing, and this weekend was a downer for them too. Walkinshaw Andretti United, some positives finally. Percat, he was a proper mid-pack runner this weekend. He's dragged himself off the bottom of the championship table. Granted, it is only 2nd last at the moment, but he is not last anymore. Someone else has taken that mantle off him. And Chaz's qualifyings weren't great over the weekend, but at least he was racing forward. Did have that DNF in the first race where Freeney took him out. That was a little bit disappointing. It did drop him from 2nd to 3rd in the championship, but the pace is there. Like last year when they were having a bad weekend, nowhere. This year, you would probably consider that a bad weekend for Chaz, and his qualifying was kind of in that low teens, and then he moved his way forward in each of the races. So overall, it's not that the results are still there, the points are still there. There is a bit of a chasm growing, like he's 160 something points now behind Brody, which is half a round, which is getting towards, worrying territory this early in the season, that far back. But yeah, it's just a hell of a lot more solid year than last year, and Percat has actually been improving the last few rounds and kind of creeping forward. Could Percat be up there helping Chaz towards the end of the year, and these guys actually, kind of being some kind of contenders for the rest of the year. Tickford Racing. Cam Waters, lots and lots of speed this weekend, which was great to see. He was kind of back on it. Finishes of 4th and 7th. Imagine what he could do if he didn't crash into Dick Johnson Racing cars during qualifying. He could have maybe put up a fight with the top guys. Then, the rest of the team. Well, Courtney, again, shocking. Randall, not too bad from Randall, actually. Hope you're watching this, Thomas. Pretty good. He's actually moved up ahead of Courtney in the championship now. Not too bad. Just, typical little mishaps. Now, the 4th car in that team. I had a lot of criticism for Jake Kostecki last year. Maybe it's something to do with the car, because Declan Fraser seems to be doing just as much mowing. I know the car's totally changed, but was there something missing from, Jake's skill set last year? Declan won the Super 2 Championship. He raced competently at Bathurst with Lowndes, and now this. don't know what's going, something is clearly amiss there. He has now got the job of holding up the whole championship ladder. Yeah, probably not a job he wants to have. And really, out of the rookie, he is looking so much worse than the other rookies in the field. I'm not sure what's going on there. Triple A Racing. This was my other prediction for the weekend, that Feeney would take it to Shane this weekend, and he did. Yeah, after taking out Mostert in the first race, he won the second race and was second in the third race. That's Shane-like results there. Shane came off second best with that clash with Reynolds at the start of race 2, and yeah, like his other 2 races were 3rd and 4th, but he qualified badly, and you expect him, and badly's badly for him, but you expect him to qualify, like he wasn't even qualifying 22nd and having a race to the front. He was still in the hunt, but yeah, he didn't have that same firepower where he could just race right up to the front and just, blast past everyone like he normally does, and what we've kind of come to expect. So that's disappointing in my books that he, didn't pass everyone and win the races. Brody actually passed him at the, Shane did something very un-Shane-like. He pitted early in the third race and then ran out of tyres at the end, and Brody did a Shane to Shane kind of thing. Yeah, it's brilliant for the racing because it takes that predictability out of the weekend. But yeah, do you put a weekend like this for Triple Eight in the disappointing bracket? Because they did get a race when they're looking pretty good. Second in the teams championship, all of that. 3rd and 4th in the drive, or 4th and 5th in the drivers championship. Yeah, but it doesn't feel like a proper Triple Eight kind of performance. And in first position we have it's Erebus in first position. Yeah, Erebus just doing a Triple Eight-like performance. 5 out of a possible 6 podiums on the weekend. Unfortunately, Brody got tangled up with the Waters Jack LeBrock thing in the first race, so he didn't get there on the podium. But yeah, other than that, I mean, what do you say? Just great. Like, Betty was actually there live to see him after, all the money, time, effort, just, the tribulations she's had with her entry into this category. I really enjoyed. I don't agree with every decision she's ever made. I don't agree with everything that Barry Ryan says, etc. But it is just great to, like, the genuine races, they really are savouring the wins. It's great to see that on TV. I'm just really happy. Like, Brody and Will are personalities you can quite get behind. Yeah, I'm just really happy to see these results at the moment. It is something different. Maybe by the end of the year, if they continue like this, we might be getting a bit bored of it because I was actually starting to think over the weekend, I'm like, at the start of the year when we heard Jack Perkins and Dave Russell would be back with them at the endurance races, it's like, oh, they're really good signings. And now you kind of look at it and you're like, are they the best drivers to be in? Like, you nearly need to go back now and get like your Garth Tanders and things like that into that car. Yeah, because these Erebus Camaros are just absolute rocket ships. Yeah, there'd be a bit of pressure on those guys now in the endurance races if this form continues for the rest of the year. So that's my review of the weekend. Next stop is in Darwin, and that is forever away. You get to wait a whole month for that one. The joys of only having 12 races over the calendar year was like 1 a month average. Anyway, at least we got to see some good racing. Gen 3, with all its trials and tribulations, at least the racing is pretty good. The cars, they're racing side by side and things like that. There is genuine passing. They are wearing out tyres and things like that, so you are seeing a bit of to and froing in the races. that side of things all good. Yes, of course, like, you know, Shane's car, was it going to make the third race? And questions like that do need looking at, really, because a shunt like that in the previous car, it would have been out, no questions asked, whereas now there is a, will they make it, which we don't need that. But anyway, down in the comments, let me know what you thought of the racing over the weekend, and do you think that Shane might just disappear from our shores if he gets a really good result in the Chicago race? But yeah, until next time, I'm still Dave, and I'll catch you later.